Hello, hello, it's Oren Prunken, and I am in an empty room. It looks like maybe I'm in an interrogation room or maybe like a Fight Club style room, but what I'm actually doing is renovating an office. So if there's a bit of an echo, it's because there's nothing in here besides my laptop with a camera on it. And I've got freshly painted walls that I slaved over for literally 7 days. And funny enough, before I go into what I'm going to talk about, when I was looking at these walls, I was like, 30 centimeters a foot away from it for 7 days, for like 10 hours a day. So every time I go to someone's house or a building now, and I'm near a wall, I'm literally just looking at all the imperfections in walls because I know so much about them now. I've spent like 70 hours in front of them. So anyway, I wanted to talk to you about an event that I brought to Adelaide in 2012. So 7 years ago, I brought an event with a friend called Startup Weekend. Now, if you haven't heard of Startup Weekend, it's a 54-hour event. So it goes over the whole weekend. You come in on a Friday evening and you pitch in front of all your peers of a product or a service or a solution idea that you have, that you've identified in the market and that you want to go build over a weekend. And then you spend the rest of the weekend going out and validating if there's a market for it, if there is a market for it, going out and doing market research, then going and building a product and then selling it, and then coming back on Sunday afternoon in front of all your peers again to say, look, 2 days ago, we promised that we were going to do whatever you promised. And then 2 days later, here's all the stuff that we've gone out and done. And here is the results from it. It's one of the best mechanisms I've seen in its format and its time frame to get results within real early stage startup businesses. Now, when I brought that event to Adelaide with my friend, I was in charge of all of the marketing and ticket sales. And the thing was, we're entering this market, this startup industry, early stage venture market, where I personally, or both of us actually, didn't have any industry contacts. We didn't have any credibility, and thus we had no influence within this industry. In other industries, we did, but we're coming into this new early stage venture industry with nothing, literally nothing. And I remember going to the Botanic Hotel on the corner of North Terrace and East Terrace. We had a meetup at the time. It was called Silicon Beach, which is no longer around. It was Silicon Beach meetup, and there was only about 20 people there, and we're just talking about what we were going to go do. And there was one guy there that said that he said that I couldn't get more than 20 people in the room, that it was virtually impossible in Adelaide to get more than 20 people in the room. I said I could do that and 10x that. Sorry, not 10x that, 5x that. I reckon I could get anywhere between 80 and 100 people in the room, given that capacity was 80 people, right? So he said, I bet you $100 you can't do it. So we went back and forth and we placed a bet for $100 that I could get somewhere between 80 and 100 depending on what the room capacity was. So fast forward a couple months, we only had about 2 months from memory to get that whole event off the ground with none of those things, no contacts, no customer list, no prospect list, no credibility, no influence within that industry. We had about 2 months to get people into that room to sell tickets, and the threshold was 20 people, but we wanted to obviously get more than that because the more at this type of hackathon event, the better. So we ended up selling out at 80 people. So the capacity was at Microsoft Adelaide, and the capacity at that office space was 80 people. So we sold out, and we had to shut off ticket sales. We probably could have gone to 100, but we just had to shut it off due to the fire code, right? And then every other event that I ran, and I was in charge of marketing and ticket sales for that, sold out. And we did 5 others after that, and I was responsible for those 5, and we all sold out. And then, even after the last 4 years beyond that, I was able to go out and successfully launch dozens of other products and services and do it for others as well, so clients. in the same period of time. So between 2012, I'm really talking about now, and 2019, I've helped over 1,000 startups. Sounds ridiculous, but I've been involved with quite a few startup programs, and a lot of those that have gone out to raise external capital have their valuations, combined valuations of 5.5 million, so 5.5 million they're valued at in that cohort. So not all of them, obviously, all of those 1,000 are valued at that. A lot of them have now gone and died, but of those that are still around and that have raised capital, their valuations as a combined rate is that figure of 5.5. And all of those programs, you know, being award-winning training programs. If you go to my website, you can see all of those awards that they've won. So how did all of this happen? So that's kind of the big question I want to put out as a rhetoric. And there's a book, and also a saying based on the book that says the first time you do something, you're lucky, but the second time you do it, and if you're successful at it, you're good. So I'll say that again. The first time you do something, you're lucky and you're successful at it, but the second time you come around and do it, and you are also successful, you're actually good. First time lucky, second time good. And the answer to this, like how does it actually happen, is marketing launches. And the funny thing is, the person at the Botanic that bet me $100 that I couldn't get more than 20 people, as in 20 ticket sales, they still haven't paid me for the bet, even though I've asked them. You know, it's only $100, I don't really care, but it's nice to tease that person every time I see them that they were wrong and I was right, and the answer lies in product launches. And look, they were more of a technical background, they didn't really know marketing and sales all that well, but if they knew about marketing launches, it would be a pretty silly bet for them to make. So over the years, so between 2012 and 2019, so for the last 7 years particularly, I've wanted to get a lot better at launches. And even though I've mentioned that I've launched quite a few of my own products and services and helped quite a few others, I went around and tried to track down the best people I could find that have done successful launches. And what I want to show you is how you can go about successfully launching a product or a solution or a service that doesn't need to use any marketing spend. That's a really key thing, right? Doesn't need any prospect list or customer list, and that's what a lot of people starting, particularly early ventures and startups. And in some cases, and this is really important to note, that in some cases you can do a successful launch without any product, service, or solution to start with. So you don't even need a product or service or solution. Even if you have one of those, you don't need a prospect or a customer list. And even if you don't have those either, you don't need to spend any money on marketing. And it kind of sounds a bit preposterous of how that is possible, but I'm kind of going to give you just what I've come across. So over those last several years, I went out to my network, or actually created a network. It wasn't necessarily the intention to find these people in that specific capacity, but I did have that in the back of my head. So I went out and created a network and found a whole bunch of people that were, successful in their own right within business. And I ended up finding quite a few people, but there were 5 of them that I interviewed over the phone, because they had done some phenomenal things with product and service launches. So I interviewed 5 entrepreneurs, and it took me just under 5 hours, so about an hour each, to pick their brains on everything that they had learned about product launches. Now, these people have done some really, really cool stuff. One of those was able to make a viral marketing video, a campaign actually, a marketing campaign. They ended up doing 100,000 views within 72 hours. They created a video, within 72 hours of hitting publish, it had over 100,000 views. That's crazy, right? So I interviewed them and picked their brain. The next person I spoke with created a $3 million a year user-based community. So every year they created a community that generates $3 million, and they did that within 12 months. So under a year to get to $3 million revenue. Crazy, right? They didn't even have the product to start with. The third person I interviewed was someone that was a mobile app developer. They created a #1 ranking game on Apple iTunes for the mobile app. They did 1 million downloads, and they did 10 million plays within 2.5 years. So over a 2.5 year period of getting that published in Apple iTunes, they did 1 million downloads, and then of those million, at least each one of those users played the game 10 times. So they had 10 million plays, like crazy, right? The fourth person I interviewed was actually 2 people. They created a product from scratch, a physical product. They went on within a month and a half, so 45 days, and they raised $300,000 in capital on Kickstarter without actually ever going to manufacturing this product. So they designed the product, went on Kickstarter. A month and a half later, they raised $300,000. And then the last person I interviewed wrote an international best-selling book. They were able to go and hit that international bestseller within 4 months of writing the book. So I interviewed these 5 people, and it did some really successful product and service launches. So all of these people, as I said, came from a network that I created. And in fact, it was only really after the last 4 or 5 years that I interviewed them, but I've been building that network and those contacts for 10 plus years. So some of those people have been, I consider friends of mine for about a 10-year period. So I went out and interviewed them. And look, these people, you can't, first off, it's really difficult to, it's really, really difficult to get in contact with them, but they're not consultants. You can't buy their time. Like, you literally, even if you could track them down and say, can I pay you? They're like, no, it's not my core business. You can't pay me. So I don't know, it's like priceless, right? So what I want to do with these interviews that I've got on my hard drive is, so I want to give them out, but there's a few ways I could do it. And I'm thinking about putting them on a preloaded convenient MP3 player that you can just listen to on the go. So you just grab your MP3 player, check it in your pocket when you're in the car, on the train, you're going for walks or hikes, or you're going to the gym, or whatever you're doing. You have this one MP3 player that you can listen to over and over again. So the reason why I want to put on an MP3 player is just to save bandwidth, but also the other thing I just mentioned was that you can listen to it over and over again. You don't need to go into any podcasts or anything like that. You've got it on this device. That is that device only. The first time you listen to this, you'll get a lot out of it, but the second and third and multiple times, you will get more and more that you missed the first time. But also, once you go implement all the stuff that they're talking about, and it's really, really practical, all of these interviews, you start implementing it. When you go back and listen to it again, you'll gain things that you missed those first couple times. So when I say that they're really practical, it goes through kind of 4 different phases. I talk about why what they're doing was really important, what they actually went out and did, and what the results were, but also the more important thing of how they went and did it. What were the step-by-step recipe that they went out to go and do all of these successful product launches? And finally, I get them to go through and tell me, and then anyone that listens to it, what their #1 action plan would be if they walked away from that. Even though the products and services they launched are different to everyone else's, what does that look like when they distill it down for another product? So that's the kind of practicality. The other thing that I want to package this MP3 player with is just some comfortable earbud headphones. And if you're like me, I've got earbud headphones for all kinds of things. I've got one in my gym bag, I've got one in my work bag, I've got one in my car. And the worst thing about headphones is you want to go out and listen to something on your phone or a podcast, and you don't have the headphones. So you have to put it on loudspeaker, and you just look stupid. So what I'm going to do is just package this MP3 player so it's got its own dedicated headphone earbud set. So once you pick it up, you just chuck your headbuds in. You don't need to go searching around for any hearing pieces. They're always going to be attached. So my question to you is, does this sound interesting? Does this MP3 player plus the earbuds plus, the more important thing, the 5 hours, or just under 5 hours, it's about 4.5 hours of 5 interviews of all of those entrepreneurs that have gone out and done wildly successful product launches. Does that sound interesting to you? Would you like something like that to be posted to you in the mail? If it is, I'd love to hear back from you to see what your thoughts are, and if that would be interesting. Would you like me to go transcribe all of those words and then print them out into a big workbook so you can scribble on them, and so you can write notes and everything like that, and have it all bound and everything as well? So you've got the audio form and you've also got the written form. So as I said, I would love to hear from you to know if this is something that is interesting to you or not. That'd be great to hear from you, and I hope this gives you a bit of context about this product that I'm putting together. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for listening. Bye bye.